I'll get my trial notes up. Case D 518700, Christopher Ramsey, Megan Goble. Counsel, your appearances and bar numbers.
John Jones, bar number 6699, appearing on behalf of plaintiff.
John Courtney, 11092, appearing on behalf of defendant. Defendant's present with me.
Duly noted. Okay, any housekeeping procedural matters before we begin? What day number is this? 2?
Yes, Your Honor.
Day 2 of evidentiary hearing on custody and other issues.
The only housekeeping matter I have, Your Honor, is particularly given the hour at which we're starting.
I do apologize. That last one went off the sidetrack, but yeah.
And we were working on trying to resolve it right up until now. So
Okay. Well, did I interrupt some, or we're...
No, you
okay,
didn't.
so they want to go to trial.
we were done.
No problem.
We're going to resume. The only thing I would ask, and it's primarily just because I know you take great notes.
Yes.
I would like, but I also know you like to do findings, actual findings and write out decisions. In fact, I was reading some of yours today on another matter, and I would like...
Reading my other decision, the 75-page one?
No, this was from 2009. It was an 8-day trial. Client consulted with me today, so I was reading through your decision. But
Gotcha.
I would like, because of the gap between day 1 and day 2, I would like to be able to present a written closing argument to the court rather than argue it today at the close of evidence, simply because
Saves
I
time.
want to be able to quote to the transcript exactly what was said on the issues, because I want to be sure that the court remembers everything that happened on day 1
Okay.
of the separation in the 2 cases in chief. I've never decided whether primacy is better than recency, as far as what they tell you in law school about trial advocacy. But I don't want to have either party take the chance whether primacy or recency was better. And so I would ask that we be permitted to submit our closing arguments in writing.
I have to ask Mr. Courtney if he objects.
No, Your Honor, and what I like to do a lot of times when counsel stipulates to that is deliver it to Your Honor in Word format, so it makes it a little easier for Your Honor to copy paste.
That's how I do it. That's how I would do it as well, and I think that makes a lot of sense, and it does, because of how long some of your decisions are. It might actually save you a few.
You two hang around Judge Elliott too much?
No.
And another
He
reason
makes
why
the attorneys give proposed findings and orders.
No, a lot of judges are doing that now. Judge Marquis did it recently as well.
Really?
another reason why I think it makes sense is there was a lot of time separation, and so kind of when I was looking at an oral closing, there's so much that we would have to recapitulate from the last hearing. It'd be hard for us to stay within our 30-minute parameters.
I think that's a good idea, and thanks, counsel, for stipulating, assuming the court approves the stipulation. Are you okay with that?
Fantastic. Yeah, sure.
Okay, great.
I would think you guys don't want to do written a lot more than... Seems like a lot
It's
more
a lot
work
more
than
time.
oral, but at least you're organized when you...
It makes more sense, and it also...
I like it gives you no
pro-
time pressure, and you can put all your arguments, make sure you dot your
Not only
I's,
that,
cross your T's.
it also allows for there to be as thorough an order as possible that would be less subject to appeal, in my opinion.
And I can do copy, cut, and paste, and incorporate whatever findings I want to put in there, right?
Yeah, or you
Correct.
can throw them both away and draft your own. Either way, Your Honor.
That is true.
Exactly. Okay, we took the direct of Renee. We were on the direct of Dad and direct. There's a cross of Dad. We were just kind of started in the middle of the cross exam of Dad on the cross of.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yep. So your direct, it would be his cross. Remember where you left off? I could tell you what my last notes say.
I don't mind you telling me that, Your Honor.
Okay, my computer just froze. I've been hacked.
May
What
we be
happened
seated,
here?
Your Honor?
You may. But it went blank. Kidding me. Oh. Oh, there. Okay. Cross exam. We talked about Was arrested 3 times in Missouri for DV, 2 kids with her, 15, 13. Talking about his ex, never convicted of domestic violence, Las Vegas, the DV arrest against him. Mom didn't show up at court. He denies intercepting a subpoena from mom to testify against him in the DV case. Albertson's incident was coincidence. Mom lives near Trop and Pecos. He was at Albertson's Charleston Rainbow. He admitted to texting and driving, but not with L in his car. L must be the child. I use Lillian, right? Exhibits 30, 31, 32, the videos were admitted. Exhibit 1, Bates 52, CPS records, assessment of mom's functioning. Bates 30, no pictures of the child wearing Vagos colors, no picture of a baseball hat. Every time he picks up child on Thursdays, the child is hungry in pajamas, hair not done, hasn't had breakfast. He does admit to drug use in the past, marijuana once and cocaine twice. Mom was on the phone with the child on mom's birthday, and it looked like one time mom was drunk. He took the phone away from Lily, and hung up on mom. Mom was putting pull-ups on the child at her house while dad was working on the child's potty training. He requested, this is the last thing he said, he would like primary physical custody because of the Jason Snow incident and mom's drinking. That's where we left off. Okay, that was the entire cross-exam. So, day 2. Oh, let's have Dad up there. It's a new day. I'd like to get him sworn in again, please. Thank you. Day 2 of trial. Oh, I forgot to announce one other procedural matter. We normally stop at 5, but I'll give you till 5:30 to make up a little bit of that time we lost. But 5:30, we have to shut the courtroom down. Okay.
Well, and I'd be more than happy to, if we could get finished by 5.
There you go.
Do
Okay.
you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You may be seated.
Yeah. Why 5:30? Because I do not have a deputy marshal after 5:30, and mine is not here today. So, but yeah. Remind me when it's Tom. Remind me when it's 5:25. Yeah. Okay. All right, Mr. Courtney, it's your cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Ramsey, we talked last time a little bit about you moving out of the place on December 2nd and then moving back in somewhere around the end of the year. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Do you know if you moved back in prior to Christmas or not?
It was after Christmas.
It was after Christmas. Was it prior to New Year's?
I don't recall.
So it could have been in January that you moved back in?
No, it was within a few weeks of Christmas. I couldn't. I don't remember the date.
And so, another thing that you had testified to is that when that subpoena came in the mail, that you were living in the weekly rental at the time?
I'm not sure when the subpoena came in the mail.
I have to ask you, do you know who painted Lily's toenails black and green?
I did not observe them being painted. No.
Did you ask Renee if she did it?
I don't recall asking her if she did.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, redirect.
Yeah, just briefly. On the incident where you just happened upon Mr. Snow and Megan together a few months back, if you would have had her tracked and knew where she was, would you have been better prepared to document the event?
Probably so.
In your profession, what might you have done?
In my profession, I would have had another investigator handle it.
I'm sorry, you'd have
I
a,
would have had another one of our investigators handle it. It wouldn't be something that I would involve myself with personally.
okay.
As it pertained to the unsubstantiated allegation by Megan.
Objection argumentative.
Let him finish the question first.
And I'm talking about unsubstantiated from the CPS records.
Okay, so
And
what's the
CPS
question?
context, not a general context.
Okay.
As it pertains to her report to the CPS of sexual abuse on Lily, what concerns did you have about what she was doing despite the things that she already knew?
Well, I picked up a copy of the hospital report, which stated that they had diagnosed her with vaginitis that day.
And despite knowing that, and that it's a common problem, she continued
Objection,
to pursue...
foundation about it being a common problem.
Okay, despite knowing that that's all it was, she continued to pursue allegations with CPS of sexual abuse?
That's correct.
Were you concerned that she would take it so far as to have a saint exam? Or a
Sam's.
whatever they call it
Yeah.
now.
Objection leading.
Okay. What, if any, other concerns did you have about her desire to continue this campaign?
My concerns were first that the possibility of a rape kit being done on a 3-year-old little girl who simply had vaginitis, and second, that she was to return for a psychiatric meeting with somebody, but there was somebody that was going to talk to her to a counselor. My concern was that that's a lot of trauma to put a little girl through for simply just having vaginitis.
Now, actually, I think I have my witness book. Turning to Exhibit 28.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Exhibit 28 has several pages. The first one I spoke to Renee about. The bottom of the page, there's what we call Bates numbers. 15 and 16 and 17 and 18. Do you recognize those text messages?
Yes.
What are those text messages?
Those are text messages between Megan and I.
And was this another incident other than the one that Renee described where she implied suicide?
Yes.
I pass the witness.
Is 28 in, Ms. Clark?
Yes.
It's already been admitted. Thank you. 3 cross.
In the record, the parking lot snapshots have a time and date stamp on them. Is that correct?
I don't have them in front of me, but they might.
Exhibit 2.
Two? Thank you. Could I direct you to page 00060 in Exhibit 2?
Yes.
There's a date and a timestamp on the bottom of this, is there?
That is correct. 0061 as well.
And then on 5/9, it's the exact same photograph without a date stamp, is that correct?
Yes.
And you had testified that your iPhone has a function where you can put time date stamps?
There's an app, timestamp it.
Could you walk us through how that app works? Do you have it on your phone?
I do.
Can you walk us through how that works?
Aren't we beyond the scope of my redirect?
You talked about video from the iPhone, and
No, I asked him if
having another person with him, right?
No.
You asked him about trackers and Albertsons incidents overruled.
So
The Albertsons video
Can you
evidence.
walk us through how you put that timestamp on there?
yeah, any picture that you take with on my iPhone, I can go back and put it into the timestamp app, and it uses the computer or the phone or computer lingo for it, but it pulls up the time and date that the picture was taken, and that's put onto the picture, and it's created as a copy of the original picture with the time and date stamp at the bottom. For example, if I were to take a picture right now, I could, that was not time and date stamped. I could go back to that app, put it into the app, and it produces the time and date stamp.
Is there any reason why you didn't do that to the remainder of the videos, or remainder of the photographs that you submitted into evidence? For example, the toenail photograph. Why wasn't that timestamped?
I know that I time and date stamped this so that I had a record of when this incident occurred. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
So, 59 is the raw video. It's number 59, and then the number 60 is when you subsequently stamped it with this app, right?
That is correct.
So, you still have the toenail photograph in your phone, don't you?
I have copies of it, I'm sure. Copies don't work the same. It doesn't go back to the original.
So there's no way this app would work to timestamp that photograph. Is that correct?
Those photographs were definitely taken on my old iPhone, and those pictures have been moved from one phone to another, so no, they will not be able to be time and date stamped. Because they are,
And so when did you
they are
get your new
copies.
iPhone?
Objection, Your Honor. Is he doing discovery on the second day of trial?
What's the basis for
What's
the
relevance?
relevance?
What's the relevance of this
Offer
line
of
of
proof.
questioning?
The relevance, Your Honor, is that he never produced the photographs that are not time-stamped about her toenails until after he was deposed, and he said he had photographs of it. I wanted to see whether those photographs were after his deposition or before his deposition, when they were taken.
And if it's one or the other,
If they were
then
taken after the deposition, then he's the one that painted the toenails.
And Judge, the time to try to get into the
Credibility.
metadata of a photograph was long ago.
I'm asking when it was taken.
More importantly, even parts of Exhibit B don't have timestamps. So just because he timestamped 2 out of the 6 photos, it cuts against his argument that somehow the other one would be timestamped because he didn't timestamp all the photos. Because nobody asked him to, and nobody did discovery asking for timestamp or metadata.
based on the offer of proof overruled, he can answer the question.
When did you get your new iPhone?
Credibility.
That's a good question.
Well, what model do you have?
I have the 6S. My previous one was a 6S as well. Probably had it about a year.
And so the photographs of the toenails happened over a year ago.
I said it's been about a year. I don't remember when the pictures of the toenails were taken specifically.
Did you ever ask Megan about why her toenails were that color?
was mentioned to her in a family wizard conversation, yes.
And you talked about getting a copy of the medical records showing vaginitis, right?
Yes.
Wasn't that copy given to you by Megan?
No, I actually had to go down and get a copy of that.
And you'd also talked about you didn't want her to have to go through a rape kit, is that correct?
Correct.
Didn't the diagnosis come as a result of the rape kit already having been done?
I'm not a doctor, and I don't know what the wording implies. I do know that she was thoroughly examined. From the wording in the in that document. So as far as whether a full rape kit was done on my daughter or not, I still don't have a 100% answer on that.
What is vaginitis?
It's inflammation of the vaginal area.
What's the causes of vaginitis?
Objection, Your Honor. Is he a doctor?
Well, he was saying vaginitis was not a big deal. I want to know what he knows about vaginitis.
From a lay
Is it a big enough deal for her to get a rape
sustain us
kit?
to expert.
Actually, Your Honor, we know for a fact that she didn't actually get a rape kit because they were required to have a detective present, and there's no record of a detective being present for a rape kit. So this idea that she actually had a rape kit
I
is...
limit the speaking objections. Counsel cannot argue or testify and sustain us to any expert opinion from Dad. He's not an expert. Overruled, and he will present his layperson answer.
What is your understanding of what causes vaginitis, sir?
My understanding is there are multiple causes for vaginitis. Even something as simple as a bubble bath can cause that.
What other things could cause it?
I remember reading up on this whenever we were going through it. If I remember correctly, lack of cleanliness, obviously, but there was some other, like the material that the underwear was made with. There's multiple ways that little girls contract vaginitis, and it, from what I've been told, is a fairly common thing to happen.
If Lily left your house and she didn't have vaginitis, and then when she returned to your home she had vaginitis, would that cause you any concern?
It would cause concern, but again, it's a pretty simple issue to fix. It's really no different than diaper rash, and the same diaper rash cream is used to treat it.
No further questions, John?
Questions? Okay. Thank you, sir. You may step down and call your next
I
witness.
think that was my case in chief. We just finished across, then
You rest?
subject to recall on rebuttal to whatever.
Oh, you can
case
step
is.
down, sir.
I would
Yes,
I would
yes.
rest.
Done. Okay. All right. That concludes plaintiff's case in chief. We're going to go to defendant's case in chief. Mr. Courtney, if you can call your first witness.
I call the defendant Megan Goble.
Okay, your client, the mom. Raise your right hand. Okay, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, thank you. Sorry, my clerk went to the bathroom. You may be seated. All right, direct examination. Defendant's case in chief.
Have you ever, well, you recall hearing Renee's testimony? Do you recall hearing her testimony?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall her testifying that she didn't agree with you putting snacks in Lily's bed, and you did it because it was easier for you to not have to get up in the morning?
Yes.
Do you put snacks in Lily's bed so you don't have to get up in the morning?
No.
Do you leave, when she was 2 years old, did you leave things like grapes in her bed without you being in the room? Why not?
Those are choking hazards.
So are you saying that her testimony in that regard is just made up?
Yes, she wasn't there at bedtime to know how Lily was being put down.
And even if she was there, it'd still be false?
Even if she wasn't there, it would still be false.
Megan talked about a roommate of yours named Eric.
Yes,
And she talked about him being a pretty bad person. Do you recall that testimony?
I do recall.
What can you tell me about the relationship between Renee and Eric?
In the beginning, it was a good relationship. Renee even mentioned having interest in wanting to date my roommate. But when she was shot down by him, rejected by him, she that story changed. Her tune changed a bit.
She testified that the first night that she was ever at your house to babysit Lillian, she had to leave and go to her own house because Eric was so drunk. Is that true?
I wasn't there, but no. I mean, I wouldn't. I can't say. But that's not typical behavior for him.
Did she ever talk to you about that?
No,
So the first time you heard about that story was here in trial?
that's correct.
Do you speak badly about Lily's father in front of Lily?
No, sir.
She said that she saw you instruct Lily to call Jason Daddy. Is that true?
I never instructed Lily to ever call Jason Daddy.
Did she ever call him Daddy?
Yes, sir, she did. And in hindsight, I probably should have corrected her on that. But I didn't. But I never instructed her that she was to call him Dad.
Now, the testimony from both of the witnesses in plaintiff's case in chief stated that you drink a lot. And in fact, Renee said she had never even witnessed you driving a motor vehicle sober. Is it true that you regularly drive drunk?
No, sir.
Do you drink as much as they say you did?
No, sir.
Why don't you briefly describe to the court your history with respect to drinking?
I was not always, but a social drinker. When I bartended at Champagne's, I would stay and have a shift drink after work, here or there, but I wasn't a heavy drinker by the standards that they are holding me up to. I wasn't that. I do know that my drinking pattern changed when I met Mr. Ramsey. He would come into my bar and try to impress people, impress me, flaunting money, buying people drinks, buying me drinks. And I did consume more when I was around Christopher.
Does Christopher drink a lot?
Yes, sir. He did when we were together. I
Of course, you
can't-
haven't seen him in the past year.
More,
Much, right?
correct.
But when you were together, when you said he drank a lot, give me specifics to the best of your ability as to how much he might drink.
Well, he only lived walking distance away from my bar, and that was considered an asset to him because he could drink to excess and then stumble home, as he called it. It was stumbling distance from his home. So he could drink a lot and then walk.
How often did you see him in the bar?
3-4 times a
Aren't
week.
Aren't we beyond? It's back when they were dating. We're well past the last custody order. Where all this is.
We're
barred
talking
by
about her
marijuana.
drinking history, and
No, she's talking about his drinking history prior to the date that she agreed it was in the best interest of the child.
Alcohol
for them to have
issues, overruled.
Equal time.
Yeah.
So your drinking increased when you met Mr. Ramsey. Is
That's
that what
correct.
your
That's
test-
fair to say.
Since you and Mr. Ramsey have no longer date or cohabitate, tell me about your drinking history since that time.
I've been alcohol-free for almost a year.
So you don't drink anymore.
No, sir.
Do you plan to return to drinking?
No, sir.
How do you? What do you do as for support in that endeavor?
I attend AA meetings regularly. I've started going to church again, which is something I haven't done in decades. But through AA, I found a higher purpose not only in myself, but I found a higher purpose in my life, and that purpose is God.
Let me ask you this: do you have any coins?
Yes, sir.
Do you carry them with you?
Yes, sir.
What coins do you have?
I have my 24-hour sobriety, my 2-month sobriety, my 3-month sobriety. I couldn't find my 6-month sobriety, but my next one is in April when I get my 1-year sobriety.
You ever put green shoelaces in Lily's shoes?
No, sir.
You ever tried to dress her up like a gangster or some biker or something like that?
No, sir.
Did you paint her toenails black and green?
No, sir.
What are the Vagos colors?
Green and red.
They're not green and black?
No, sir.
So Renee was correct in they're green and red, but it's not correct they're green and black.
That is correct.
Let's talk about the pull-ups. What is your understanding of the purpose of a pull-up?
Pull-ups are tools used for potty training, to help kids. They get the sensation, they stay wet, they get the sensation that if they do pee, that I've got to go to the potty. It's a training tool.
Did you have Lillian pull-ups all the time, or how regularly did you use pull-ups?
In the beginning, yeah, it was all the time, but when, like towards the end, when she was almost fully potty trained, it was occasionally through the night, because she would wet the bed occasionally, which all kids do. But it was not all the time.
Renee told a story about you and Jason drunk and napping or passed out on the couch on Lily's birthday while Lily was upstairs in her crib at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Do you recall that birthday?
I absolutely do.
Tell me about that birthday.
We woke up early that morning because we had packages that came from my mom from Ohio, and we got to open packages from Nana. She and I spent the morning playing and singing, and breakfast, lunch. We had a good day together.
Now, when she says, quote, Lily was upstairs in her crib, is there anything wrong with that statement?
Absolutely.
What's wrong with that statement?
Well, because we had split time together, she was with her dad part of the time, and with me the other part of the time. I declared it birthday week for Lily. So when Lily came home on September 13th, she came home to a completely redecorated room, a princess room. She got a big girl princess bed. She got a princess bike. Her room, like her crib, had completely been disassembled and put away in the garage.
So by the time that her birthday rolled around 3 days later, she didn't even have a crib.
No, sir. I have video even of her getting her big girl bed for the very first time, her seeing it for the very first time. And it's time-stamped on the 13th, if that.
Objection, Your Honor. It's never been produced. It's a hearsay document.
We're not introducing the
Overruled,
documents.
go to wait over testimony, with or without the evidence.
There was a point in time where Jason fired some gun out of a car. You recall that day?
Yes, sir.
And did you know he was going to fire a gun out of the car?
Absolutely not.
Tell me how it made you feel when it happened.
I was terrified. Absolutely terrified.
Did you talk to police?
I was in full cooperation with the police and detectives. Yes, sir.
Ever bring any charges against you?
Absolutely not. I was released that evening after talking to the detectives.
Was there ever a time when the detectives asked to talk to you that you did not cooperate with them?
No, sir. I was in full cooperation. I even testified. I even went to his trials, like when I was subpoenaed too.
Are you talking about the preliminary hearing?
I'm not exactly sure of the wording. I don't know specifically, but I know that when I was sent a subpoena, I showed up.
Was
And
it
I
like
was questioned.
was it like a 1-day thing or was it a 2-week thing?
It was a one-day thing.
How many times has Lily seen Jason since that day?
One time,
When was that?
when Christopher encountered us at an Albertsons.
Have you seen Jason since that day?
No, sir.
Do you know any of his friends or get updates as to what he's doing in life as of today?
No, sir.
Do you hang out with any bikers?
No, sir.
Have any bikers come to your house since the incident where Jason fired a gun from your car?
No, sir. If I may say, like, women weren't regarded as any, like, point of interest.
In other words, you couldn't become a member?
Correct. And so for anybody to question me or, try to intercept me or question, no.
This Jason Snow, in hindsight, do you regret having dated him? That's a tough question, but go ahead and answer as best you can.
Jason was very, very good until he wasn't.
Did you learn something from that relationship?
Absolutely. I mean,
Learn.
I've learned that mental illness is a very real thing. And that's why I say it was good until it wasn't. These are things that I knew in the relationship that he struggled with. I didn't know the severity of his illness. There are parts that I would not take back. But if I knew or dated somebody that had mental illness, again, I would never, ever allow them to go off their meds without a doctor's recommendation or without a doctor's counsel. He was a very good man at the time.
And then something changed that night. He fired something from the car.
Yes, absolutely. And I knew that at that point, I was done. It was over. There was no question. There was no question. No going back.
And so if the court issued a stay-away order where Jason could have no contact with Lily, would you have any objection to that?
No, sir.
Do you feed Lily in the mornings?
Absolutely.
Every morning or just some mornings?
Every morning that I have her, yes, sir.
You heard testimony about her showing up always hungry when Renee sees her after your custodial time periods?
Yes, I heard that.
What time are the custodial exchanges when Renee would first see her?
Our custodial exchange occurs at 9 a.m.
What time does Lily usually eat breakfast?
We get up at 7, so 7:30, 8 o'clock.
And what kind of breakfasts do you prepare for her?
Well, this morning we had pancakes, raspberries, yogurt, cereal, and milk.
When did you find out that Renee was on Suboxone?
She told me, I'm going to say in May of last year. She had confided in me that she had a problem with opioids. And this was after I stopped giving her money. She would ask to borrow money from me. And being a friend, I was happy to help her out. I knew that she didn't work. And then I don't know if she slipped or what, but she told me what she was getting, and
Objection, Your Honor. This is all hearsay.
I'll sustain.
I go for a while, but
All right. At this point, I will sustain and disregard any hearsay.
I
Let me ask you a more pointed question.
I will accept that May 2016, that Mom stopped giving Renee money.
Yes.
And all the other stuff appear to be hearsay.
So at this point in time, has Renee paid you back all the money you've loaned her?
not 1 cent.
Have you ever loaned money to Mr. Ramsey?
Yes, sir.
How much?
He is indebted to me over $1,800.
And he hasn't paid that back?
No, sir.
You ever see any cuts on Renee's leg?
Yes, sir.
And describe the cut marks or scars or whatever they were.
She carved the word
objection.
ugly.
Foundation as to time.
Sustained. Foundation.
When did you see any marks on her leg?
Summer of 2016, around the same time that she was spiraling with her opiate addiction.
And describe the cut marks you saw in 2016.
She had the word ugly carved into her leg. And then, like, just random slashes, like straight across, slashes on her leg.
Do you recall me asking her if she was a cutter when she was in trial?
Yes, sir.
And so when she said she wasn't, it's your opinion she was being untruthful?
Absolutely.
She tells a story about you trying to commit suicide for 3 nights straight. Is that true?
No, sir.
She tells a story about you having a gun and you were going to shoot yourself. Can you tell me about that if it's true?
It's not true. In one report, she said I had a gun in my mouth, and another, and in her testimony, she said it was lying on the floor. She's all over the place when she's telling that story. It's not true, bottom line.
Did you ever refer to Lily as your little Aryan princess?
No, sir.
No neo-Nazi stuff or any of that sort
No,
of
sir.
thing? Did you receive that text that we talked about when Renee was on the stand from Renee, talking about black people running into that tree or whatever it was? I think there was more foul language, but
Yes, sir.
Objection, Your Honor. It'd still be hearsay.
they both discussed it. She didn't deny that it on one end, so I just
Who's
polished
the
up the other.
declarant?
Pardon?
Who is the declarant?
You don't think
Byron already testified about it, and I can tell you what she said. She said that text came while she was
It was
driving.
a third party.
So she put it in the car with her, and she said one of her children must have done it because she didn't do it.
That would be
So
hearsay.
she's already substantiated it and said it came from her phone. And I'm just asking if she received the text. We've already substantiated that it was sent from that phone.
Not the content of the text, but where the text was.
Was sent.
who
The
sent it.
content was already described, and she had said it was one of her children, and then we later
Oh.
on find her children are in their 20s.
That's what we're
and
trying to
30s.
figure out, or I'll overrule it just to where the text came from. What does Mom know?
The text came from Renee Muller's phone.
So she sent you a text.
Yes, ma'am.
And about a tree reference.
She said that tree.
Objection, it's hearsay. The text message
You can't
is
tell
not
me
in
what.
evidence.
You can't tell me. Can't tell me what she said.
You would like me to tell you?
No, I have her testimony and I have your testimony. So
that's
this will
fine.
accept. I'll accept that you got a text from Renee.
Yes, ma'am.
From there, we'll take it from there.
We'll take it from there. We'll save the
Okay.
rest for argument.
Yep.
Renee claimed that you dressed Lillian Vagos colors, quote, all the time. Is that true?
No, sir.
Did you ever leave milk in the crib for Lily overnight?
Not milk. I would leave juice cut half with water and her crib in case she got thirsty through the night.
When you stopped drinking, did you have convulsions,
No, sir.
shakes?
No.
You ever witness Lily have night terrors?
No.
When you saw Jason Snow at that gas station on that day, were you shocked to see him?
Absolutely.
Tell me how you felt.
I was shocked. I was a little nervous.
How long it had been since you seen him approximately up until that point?
8 months. I mean, since he was incarcerated.
And is it your testimony that that wasn't a meeting, it was chance contact?
Yes, sir.
Explain to me what conversation you had.
It was very short, nervous conversation. He just walked up, said, "Hey."
He asked for a
He asked
ride?
what I.
Objection, move to strike, it's hearsay.
He walked up to you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And from there, we'll take it from there.
Did he ask you for anything?
No.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained. I'll accept that he walked up to her when they had the
Okay. Was there any point where you felt as though he might want you to do him a favor?
No.
Did you give him a ride anywhere? From the convenience store?
He rode with me. He didn't ask per se. I said I had to deposit my check, and he said that there was a Wells Fargo just right up the street. There really wasn't a whole lot to the conversation.
And so you go right up the street to Wells Fargo, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You go inside the Albertsons?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing there?
There was a ATM right as you walk in, and I proceeded to deposit my check.
How long were you in the store, approximately?
2 minutes tops.
And then what happened?
And then turned around and started to walk back towards my car.
And then what happened, if anything?
And then walked out and saw Christopher with Lily. She She saw me, I saw her. Jason parted ways. I'm assuming to avoid confrontation. I can't say what his state of mind was, but I know he wouldn't want confrontation in front of Lily.
Where was Christopher when you first saw him walking out of the store?
He was right by my truck.
He wasn't on his way walking into the store?
He was headed towards that way, but he was, yeah, when I saw him, he was right by my vehicle.
You know anything about Mr. Snow leaving a bloody wooden bat with a metal filling on his bike?
No. From that picture that was admitted to evidence, that's a tire thumper. Snow was a truck driver, and he had earlier had checked my tires because I didn't have a tire pressure gauge in my car. So he was checking my tires. That's why my vehicle wasn't there. And it was just on his bike. It wasn't left out, and it most certainly wasn't dripping with blood.
I may have already asked you. I'll ask you again, though, just to be clear. You didn't paint Lily's toenails black and green?
No, sir.
Do you see the photograph of those toenails?
I did.
Had you ever seen her toenails painted like that before seeing the photograph?
Not in that manner. No, I mean, that looked... When I painted her toenails, I do cute little French manicures or polka dots or little fun things. That just looked like a very thrown together, haphazard paint job on a little girl's toenails. But I wouldn't put black on a 3-year-old, on a 4-year-old. You know, I let her pick her own colors. When we have, like, spa day, I let her pick her own colors. But there are certain colors I leave out of, you know, like reds and blacks and things of that nature that I don't feel a 3-year-old, 4-year-old should be wearing.
How many times does Lily call you per week when she's in Mr. Ramsey's custodial care over the past 6 months or so?
Hardly ever now. And I would only get phone calls when I would ask for her to call me.
So it's not true that she calls you once or twice a week during Mr. Ramsey's custodial time?
Not lately, no. And when she would call, they were only FaceTime calls. She was only allowed to have FaceTime conversation with me, and Christopher was always present during those conversations, hovering over her, coaching her, listening to the conversations that were being had. There was one time it was later in the evening, and she was eating chips or something, and I said, "Oh, is that your bedtime snack?" And before she could even answer me, he answered me, "No, that's not her bedtime snack." Excuse me for the inflection of my voice. But it was a very snarky response on his behalf, and then he immediately started cutting up carrot sticks. But he listens and talks over her when those conversations are being had, to the point where Lily's even spoken up and said, "Dad,
Objection.
I want
hearsay.
alone time."
I can't hear what Lily said, but okay. Were you saying Dad made snarky remarks to you
That's correct.
while you're trying to talk to Lily on the phone?
That's correct.
Is it FaceTime or phone?
It's
time?
FaceTime.
FaceTime.
Yes, ma'am.
So he's in the background,
Yes, ma'am. Hovering.
hovering over the child.
Yes, ma'am. And she's left left the room before, and taken the conversation into her own room for privacy, because she knows he's back there.
Okay.
Do you remember any time where you were hung up on in the middle of a conversation with Lily?
There are many times he's hung up on me.
And who hangs up the phone when those calls are terminated?
He does. He rips it away from her and just ends the phone conversation. And then when I try to call back, he just declines the call.
How do you know he declines the call?
Because it comes up on the call history. Call declined, call declined. It's not that it's a missed call, because missed calls come up as a missed call. These are he purposely declines the call. It's a game to him.
He testified that you refused to co-parent with him because you don't have enough contact with him or communicate with him enough. Do you not want to co-parent with him?
I want to absolutely co-parent with him, but he makes that incredibly difficult because everything is so argumentative with him. Even just regular dialogue with him is a struggle. That everything he tries to twist and turn into an argument and blame me and what he feels is evidence in the family wizard. He's trying to establish things to use in court, if need be. And it got to a point where I say what I need to say, and I don't respond anymore because it does no good to argue. It does no good to go back and forth. I'm not going to do that. It's not a lack of want to co-parent. It's a lack of not wanting to argue with him. I don't want to argue in everything with him. It's just argumentative and angry.
Is he controlling?
Incredibly controlling.
Give me specific examples.
The most prominent example I can give you is that when Christopher and I were dating, we had a joint...
Relevance on dating, Your Honor?
Offer of proof, Mr.
Long
Courtney.
before the order?
Your Honor, I think it does show the type of control that she's now arguing that he uses the child for. We haven't got the testimony out, but...
We won't spend too much on it, but I will overrule and you can answer.
Thank you.
Well, repeat the question so I can hear it again.
I think I asked her if
I'll give an
she could give me specific examples of his controlling type, disposition, and she said, "Well, I can give you the most
More
glaring
recent
one."
would be helpful. Not
We haven't
your-
been together for over 2 years, Your Honor. When we were together, we had a joint bank account.
When we were all together.
2.5 years.
Okay.
We had a joint bank account, but Mr. Ramsey also had his own primary account in addition to our joint account. When he would get upset with me for whatever reason, he would pull all of the money out of our joint account and put it in his primary account so that I had no access to money.
And that's irrelevant to the child judge? How?
It's control.
You gave him some
Oh,
leeway,
I can't-
but
I
it's
can't
not
give
even
you
a
a-
child-related issue.
I can't have you argue in the middle of a... You can cross-examine her later on that.
I wasn't able to provide for my child.
Any other examples, ma'am?
Yes. Text messages, he would go through my phone constantly. I was not allowed to have male friends, male companions. His philosophy was that all men with female friends, that all males want to have sex with their female friends. So any guy friend that I had, they were just trying to have sex with me. So anytime there was any kind of conversation with another guy,
Oh, he was jealous?
absolutely, like
Okay. Any other examples?
the text messages, he would always talk down about women, like that women just weren't of the same level as a man. Like I was always inferior. The way I dressed, he would control the way I dressed. I'm very much, my personality is not a cookie cutter personality, Your Honor. I'm not your typical, stereotypical soccer mom, PTA mom, I'm a punk rock mom. I'm a fun mom. I'm a jeans, t-shirts, and Converse kind of mom. And he didn't like that.
He wanted you to be a soccer mom?
Yes, he wanted me to drive a Volvo, and he wanted me to drive, wear certain clothes, wear button-down sweaters, I wasn't allowed to be me. He chastised me for dyeing my hair purple at one point, saying, "Well, you're almost this age. Don't you think you should? You've grown out of that." And if anything, it's teaching Lily that it's okay to be an individual, that it's okay to express individuality and your personality. You know, that you don't have to be part of a cookie cutter mold to be accepted. Like, just be true to you. That's what I want her to get from mom having fun hair or mom having tattoos. He didn't like that at all.
He testified about that he used to date, quote, a local weather girl. Do you know who that was?
It was meteorologist. She goes by Kelly Curran on TV, but her name is Danny Curran.
Mr. Ramsey claimed that you're a violent person, and you were violent with him on many occasions. Is that true?
No, sir.
Was there violence ever in the household between you and Mr. Ramsey?
There were 2 instances of domestic violence where the police were called in. Yes, sir.
And on that first instance, you were taken to jail, and the second one he was. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mr. Ramsey put marks on himself. And I didn't know that he had prior DVs in Missouri or with his ex-girlfriends at this time. He kind of knew the system. I figured it out later that he knows how to work the system in that respect. He knew that if the cops showed up, somebody was going to jail. So he put marks on himself.
He claims that, he stated in his testimony that he also went to jail, and at the court date, you didn't show up as a witness.
That's correct.
Why didn't you show up?
I never received the subpoena. I had moved out of the Jeffries apartment that we were cohabitating in. I didn't receive a subpoena until after his hearing.
Whose court date?
Dad's
Mr.
court date?
Ramsey's court date, she didn't show up, and she's testifying that she never got the subpoena.
Okay.
When did you move out of that place?
It was either right before Christmas or right after Christmas, but I know it was before January, before New Year's. I was out.
Did you break up with him, or did he break up with you?
I left him, 100%.
You ever sit down and drink an entire fifth of whiskey?
Which is 18 shots, according to Mr.
25.
Jones.
Shots.
25.
25, Your Honor.
I would not be sitting here if I drank a fifth of whiskey on a regular basis.
How do you know that?
25 shots?
Correct.
25 shots. How do you know you couldn't drink 25 shots?
I was a bartender for 7 years. We have to go through training, and we're actually licensed. It's through the
TAM card.
TAM card.
Yeah, I
Yes,
know that.
ma'am. And we're trained in how to meter people, monitor people, so that we don't overserve.
How much do you weigh?
Roughly about 110.
That's a very personal question.
I'm
It-
happy
it
to,
is,
I'm
but-
happy
but
to
it's-
answer
but it's
it.
relevant, Your
I'm
Honor.
happy to answer it because we gauge by people's weight. Like,
Right.
And
Like
when you enter, it's
200-pound guy, how many shots can he take?
before he dies. 20 would kill a
It
200-pound
would kill
person.
a 200-pound man?
Yes, a 100-pound woman.
Your Honor, he's not an expert.
I'm not an expert. But this is what we're taught by the state of Nevada.
We'll move on. Thank you. Sustained. Yeah.
So you've
sustained.
never drank 25 shots in one sitting?
No, sir. It's impossible.
He claims that you would wake up in the morning shaking, and that you would immediately begin drinking first thing in the morning. Is that true?
No, sir.
Objection, Your Honor.
Who claimed? Dad?
I don't think the plaintiff testified to that at all.
It's,
Dad or was it Renee?
I'll tell you exactly who it was. It was Dad, and the minutes of the video are 7.20 and video number 3.
Really? I had it under Renee's testimony.
I've got it also under...
Renee, she told CPS mom can't go drinking without convulsing and shaking.
Oh, both of them tell the same story, Your Honor. There's no doubt about that. But he also says it.
Don't have it in Dad's notes. Sorry. But you said there was a video site?
I've got it ready to play right here. Let's see. Oh, wait. Hold on a second. Bear with me one moment, Your Honor.
I'll look for any alcohol references in Dad's testimony.
closing time, I'll withdraw the objection. He can go ahead and ask the question. any
I'll
way
go,
he
I'll go to
wants.
the next one. We can do that in closing anyway. We can figure it out in closing.
I already forgot the question was anyway. Oh, shaking, convulsing. You want to ask it? It's fine. They don't object.
Yeah, would you wake up in the morning shaking? Let's start with that first, so it's not compound.
No, sir.
Would you begin drinking first thing in the morning?
No, sir.
Do you bring bags of fruit to the exchanges very often?
I do.
What other kind of things do you bring to the exchanges?
I bring cheese, fruit, yogurt, little Go-Gurts. Yeah, because sometimes she doesn't finish her meals, like finish her breakfast in the mornings. And I want to make sure that she's not going hungry. That's not her breakfast.
Have you ever picked her up during your 36 to 48 hours of custodial time, and then by the time you brought her back, noticed that she's lost a lot of weight and their complexion is different?
No.
How many times have you gone on runs to bring guns and methamphetamines from Mexico to Las Vegas?
Never.
Not even one time?
Not even one time.
Did you hear that testimony?
That was the first time I'd heard that, period. So yes, I did, to answer your question, yes, I did hear it, but that was the first time I heard those accusations, period.
Have you ever even known anyone to be involved in illegal gun trade?
No, sir.
What about people getting methamphetamine from Mexico and bringing it to Las Vegas? Do you know any of those folks?
No, sir.
Do you think that Lily should have a relationship with both her mother and her father?
Of course. Yes, sir.
Were you satisfied with the custody arrangement prior to this suit?
Yes, sir. I was.
And to the best of your recollection, that order was issued by the court in June of 2016? Is that correct?
I'm not positive, sir.
What kind of things make you a good mother?
I teach Lily life skills. I teach her.
Give me specifics. Give me an example of the way you might teach her a life skill.
We go on nature walks. I take her to the wetlands park, and we'll go through the museum that they have there, and well, I mean, not to be crass by any means, but we'll even look at the different kinds of scat, and then we'll go out and on the nature trails and identify. Well, look at this. This is what we saw. This belongs to a rabbit, or this belongs to a coyote. You know, we look at different flowers. We look at different like flora and fauna. We find really cool things out in nature, and the cicadas were a big thing this year when the cicadas came out. We would go out and pick the cicada shells off the trees and collect them and turn them into arts and crafts, and pine cones, turn them into arts and crafts. And I teach her how to cook. I teach her how to clean. You know,
Does she watch TV at all?
Yeah, we watch PBS. It's not that I don't allow her, but I prefer that she watch educational television. But we don't watch a lot. I mean, we get pretty busy on our time together. And
Name some of the shows she watches.
yeah, we watch Nature Cat, we watch Super Y, we watch Curious George, we watch Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. That's a really good. It's a spin-off of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but it really teaches her good things. She even sings the little songs that they have. You know, you gotta try new food 'cause it might taste good. But you know, she keeps herself in check and with things like that, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
So you watch these shows with her when she's watching them?
Of course.
You sing the jingles with her?
Yeah.
What's her favorite show?
Right now, it's probably either Curious George or Daniel Tiger.
Does it change from time to time?
Sure.
What other kind of things does Lily like that you provide for her?
She loves to help me cook. She really wants to be involved, in so much as I got her own little set of cookware, her own little set of measuring utensils. She has a step stool so that she can like get up on the counter and help, like actually have hands-on experience. We do no-bake cookies, and we make Rice Krispie treats and little fun things that, you know, aren't, that she can just really get her hands into.
We'll take a little time out so we can get to the 5:30 mark. We'll step down. Hello.